Hi guys. So this video will be a start of my series on Firebase, where I will be explaining how you can integrate Firebase services like authentication, and then FCM slash APNS notifications, and then Crashlytics, and then Firebase functions like cloud functions V2 with your React Native application. So what I have planned to do is I have planned to integrate all of these services within both a bare React Native project as well as an Expo based project. Right. So for starters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mini series on the authentication a section where I'll be implementing for email authentication, phone authentication, and Google and Apple Auth all within both bare React Native Flow and Expo React Native. Right. So it will be almost 4+4, 8 videos, which will be available mostly in the upcoming months. If I have time, I will make every one of them. And then once that is done, I will make all those videos so that you can view them. So the next one would be to implement FCM notifications with both Expo notifications and then with a Notify. Right. So for example, what I'll be doing is I'll be installing the Firebase SDK for messaging, and then I'll also be combining that with the Expo notification, right? So that, for example, from a Node.js powered or Node.js slash ExpressJS powered backend API route, you can send a custom notification to your user. Plus, I'll also be implementing deep linking with that. Okay. And the thing is, as I am also going to make a series on mini series on Firebase Cloud Functions, I will also be explaining how you can make a ExpressJS route in a Firebase Cloud functions, and then in that I will be doing all the admin SDK stuff and routes, etc. And then one more thing is I will be implementing Crashlytics, which is nothing but a Firebase library or a service where you can see. Okay, I'll go here. In the I think yeah, not analytics. What is this? Okay, for some reason it's not a okay, yeah, sorry, not Analytics. So here Crashlytics. So it's a very lightweight library where, for example, some ANR issues arises in Android because of out of memory or some random re-rendering or some other features which we are unaware of. I will be explaining how you can use Crashlytics in both Android and iOS, like on both these sites in React Native, to immediately monitor what are the errors you are facing and then fix it in your next updates. Right. So all those stuff. So I'll be making a comprehensive guide on all of these stuff for both the both bare React Native and then Explore Flow. Okay. This will be combined with my Expo based videos. Right. So for example, I will be combining both these series together to make it full stack. Okay. So my idea is to keep them separate, and for some videos I will combine them to make a full stack Expo based application. Right. So all the setup is done. So from next month or the next these videos will be up, and then you should be able to learn more about how you can implement Google Auth in both Android and iOS, Apple Auth in only iOS, how to implement phone authentication properly. Right. So for example, we had this issue where in Android, I think 2 years back, they introduced a feature where if you are using Firebase authentication and if you have the SIM card in a real mobile device, right? So instead, once you have sent once you have entered your number and then you have sent for auth verification with phone number, right? If you are in Android and if you have the SIM number in your mobile device, the Firebase authentication library will automatically authenticate, and then it will push you forward. Like, for example, it will before entering the OTP, it will automatically authenticate. Okay. This is in Android. We didn't know this. So we had some issues. Now, I fixed this 2 years back, but I didn't know about this with phone auth. But others, it's normal. It's just like if you have to press on a button and then it will move forward and it will do all those things. But for phone auth, in Android, there was a custom scenario like this. For iOS, it's not a problem. You can enter your OTP, and then only after entering your OTP, it will move forward. But in Android, if a SIM card is in the same mobile, the Firebase SDK will auto-authenticate. Okay. So if you enter the OTP, right, it will say user already authenticated, it is invalid. Okay. So this we didn't know before. So all these custom quirks which I have faced in my production application, I will mention it throughout all my Firebase videos, right? And then one more is why I'm not going to make a video on Firestore or real-time database or storage is I believe we should use some other alternative than those if possible, right? Like we best like we can use Postgres, right? We can use Postgres for the database layer, and for the storage, either we can use AWS S3 or some other storage solution, right? Because I will explain this one by one, and then that would be the end of this video. For Firestore, right? Like it's a NoSQL database. So for the current application I am working, that was not a problem because there was no relationships. Like there was no concept of relationship between between the tables or between the collections. But for one other projects, what I have clearly realized is Firestores do not support, or NoSQL databases do not support joins. Okay, so if there are no joins, what you have to do is you have to do double Firestore calls. So for example, you have users table and then you have post table. Right? Sorry, let's say users collection and post collection. So let's take, you want to get all the post of a user. So what you have to do is in NoSQL, the architecture would be users collection, post sub collection. Right. So what you can do, you can directly query the sub collection. Okay. That you can do. But what if they are there is a concept called many to many, like many to many. Okay. There is a concept called many to many relationship. Okay. And then in the post there may be comments. And the comments may be used by be done by a user. Okay. And the comment belongs to a post and it belongs to a user. Okay. Now you can't properly architect this social media style stuff. If you can, like, oh, it's fine. But the one more project that I have been working now in my own work is there was so many foreign keys or like many to many relationships. And if I had chosen Firestore, the project would have exploded, like imploded. Okay. I chose Postgres, and then actually it paid off. Right? It really paid off because of how many to many relationships we had within that particular tables itself. Right. So for example, here, so here like we have what users, and then you have what posts, and then comments, right? So either you can make it in two ways. You can make the users, posts, and comments in a separate collection. Okay, and then add correct IDs there. Okay. Or like that is one way. Like if you are going to put the post in a separate collection, users in a separate collection, comments in a separate collection, then you can directly use Postgres, right? But let's assume that you are going to make it in a separate collection means how can you get, remember this, how can you get all the comments and post of a user? How can you do? You have to query the post collection in Firestore. You have to query the comments collection in the Firestore, combine them and provide them an answer. Okay. But if you use it in a Postgres, you can simply use a join. You can join them and then you can provide it as an answer. So that's the difference. And yeah, that's the like what I would say, like advantage we have over in Postgres than Firestore. Right. That is the one reason I'm not going to use Firestore in any of my future products because like Postgres is king in this. Right. Yeah. But if you have made these social media style in NoSQL, like it's not a problem because if it works for you, if the latency is good, if it scales well, like it's good for you. So one more is storage. So for storage, the main thing is Firebase storage, right? There's a concept called bandwidth. Okay, bandwidth. And then there's a concept called storage cost. Okay, I'll go here, Firebase storage cost. Okay, I'll go in. Here, I'll scroll down. In this one, cloud storage. Cloud is this, what is it, FCM? Okay. Here, GB store, 5 GB. It's free. After that, it's 0.026, think what, 2 cents per GB, right? And all these operations, okay, see this carefully. Okay, GB store, GB downloaded. Okay, stored we know. GB downloaded is the bandwidth. Okay, bandwidth is egress and ingress, which is nothing but what goes out of your particular app is called egress. What comes in is ingress. Okay, as these explode, right? As your app thing explodes, then like okay, Firebase costs high for huge bandwidth. Okay, bandwidth. Let's do this, and then you can see bandwidth cost too high. Please help. Okay, I have a wallpaper app where I showcase live how each live wallpapers can be up to 8 MB. You can see the last 24 hours the bandwidth reached about 50 GB, and the free tier for bandwidth is okay. It's only 1 GB. Okay, fine. So, do you have any ideas on how to find a cheaper alternative? What they are saying, compress and all those things, right? The thing is, take a look at AWS S3 and AWS CloudFront. Okay, what they are saying is, rather than using Firebase storage for storing all of those things, the main thing is not the storage cost; it's the bandwidth or the egress cost. Okay, if you do not put a CDN like CloudFront or Google CDN in front of your what is it, like cloud like your storage bucket, right? Cost will explode if you scale up. So it's better to not use it. That's what I believe. If you cache it heavily, and then what he's saying is compress it heavily, then it's good for you, right? Like if you make it work, then fine. But it's better to look into an alternate solution than Firebase storage or Firebase what is Firestore, right? So that's why I'm not going to make videos on that. But if you guys still want me to do it, then I will definitely do it because like the fundamentals remain the same. So for example, for the users or the post or comments, those stuff, right? You can make it in a separate collection or you can make sub collections and all those stuff. For Firebase storage, same way. If you optimize the bandwidth, if you compress the images, if you cache the images, if you use proper CDNs, the cost won't skyrocket. So it depends on each and everyone's project requirements. So, but moving forward, all my projects will have only Postgres. If the requirement arises, I will use NoSQL, but Postgres wins. Why? Because it has proper connections with third-party solutions. It we can do CDC, which is change data capture for audit logs, audit trails, and all those things. And then we can have proper triggers. I can also do that in Firestore. We can do some. The main thing which I hate about Firestore or any other NoSQL is joins. Okay, Firestore builds per hour, per query, per reads and writes. Superbase, sorry, it's not Superbase, like Postgres or any other Postgres providers like AWS, I think RDS, or I think RDS, please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not strong with the AWS, but RDS or Google Cloud SQL or Superbase SQL, like Postgres SQL, like they have joins feature. So you can use that extensively in your own application. You can also make materialized views on those and to improve performance if you run it on your dashboard. Right? That's what I did. So and like all those optimizations you can employ with Postgres, but you can also do that with Firestore with Upstash. But so this is the next series that I'm planning on, and this will be a standalone. Plus, it will also combine with Expo and other series that I'm going that will be parallel, be running parallel to this. Okay, so I'll meet you in the next one. So I believe that you got more understanding about the Firestore stuff, the bandwidth and the storage stuff. Right. Without knowing this, if you use Firestore, then it will be trouble. So I will see you in the next one.